What is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another 7 Nights video. And today we're looking at the update patch notes which is coming to the game, and you're going to see that even though we did look at the skills for both Kyle and Aquila, which is down here, you're actually going to see that the multipliers and the numbers are all out now, so we can actually see how much damage they will potentially do. Now, Aquila is mostly a support relying on death, as we saw, so her numbers don't really matter as much. We're more focused on Kyle because basically he's a damage dealer that needs to do a lot of damage, otherwise he just won't be that good because his utility isn't the best, honestly, but it looks like he can assassinate, high attack characters, and maybe, just maybe, he'll be good at farming, although I do have my doubts after looking at some of the numbers here. So as you guys know, Kyle is basically a damage dealer, he's an attack character, and you're going to see that his basic attack is a little interesting. It's going to, one, do physical damage, but also when you use it twice, you'll do additional damage equal to your physical attack once again. And this is going to be similar to Shane, although Shane, I think it's 3 times where it triggers, so pretty interesting. And you're also going to see that with Eyes of the Strong, so I think this is when he is attacking the highest attack target, which is going to be, I believe it's passive, Eyes of the Strong, somewhere here, yeah. Basically, he starts like focusing onto the highest attack target. He is going to dispel a buff, which is pretty cool. It's going to be mostly against Tio, right? You're going to be dispelling the immortality and the guts, and also against like any other high attack character that has that same thing. And then we have his chain suppression. So this is where the damage starts really mattering, and we have to kind of look into it. I'm not going to lie, it's a lot of numbers, so we're just going to kind of like vaguely look at it. But basically, it's 60% of physical attack, and then 8% of the target's max HP twice. So it ends up being 16% of the target's max HP, and then 60% of physical attack. So let's actually look at 6-1 Nightmare to see the HP of the monsters there that you farm. And the reason why I'm looking at 6-1 is because I think most people right now are farming at either 14-1 normal or 1-1 Nightmare, or even 11-1 normal, so 6-1 is where you start getting 5-star accessories, which is something you want to aim for eventually into the late game. But regardless, let's look at the health. You'll see that some stuff here has 40,000 HP. So because they have so much health, actually just a side note, they have more health than 17-1 Nightmare where I'm farming. That's kind of funny. But 40k health, that makes it pretty easy to do the math. So 8% is going to pretty much be about like 3,200 additional damage, and then you have like the twice hitting, so it's going to be 6,400. That sounds like a decent amount of damage for PvE, honestly, because you're just getting 6k damage for free basically. And with his modifiers, if you look where he's doing, oh, it actually, okay, let me before I go any further, if you look at the skill enhancement, you'll see that it actually goes up to 10%. So it's going to be 8k damage with before mitigation, of course, with the HP scaling damage, and then it's 72% of physical attack, and TOs with skill enhance goes up to 170 total. You are sacrificing about 25% physical attack damage here on this skill for 10% target max HP, which sounds a lot better. On top of that, you're going to be hitting one of the enemies with like an additional attack that does more damage, but the only downside is that it only will hit 4 enemies, and also this HP based damage is limited to his attack. Even though it sounds like on paper it's going to do a lot, you have to realize that it's limited, and most people are going to be running about like 3.5k attacks. Looking at it, the max damage he's going to get from 2 hits of this is probably going to be like 2,500 plus 2,500, which doesn't really sound like too much, but it's a lot of math, I'm not going to lie, so I'm just going to test it. I don't really want to think about it too much. But it looks okay. It looks a lot better than Kagura. I know when we looked at Kagura's patch notes, we were like, oh my god, she's gonna be absolutely buns at farming. Absolutely dog shit. And then she was, surprise, surprise. But Kyle, just from his first skill, he looks alright. We'll have to test him out. Not really too sure. Now the second attack is Chain Burial. This has 2 buff removal, mostly for PvP, right? Piercing damage, which is very good. And it's going to do 70% twice, which is 140. And then if you skill enhance it, it does 90% twice. So that is actually, I believe it's going to be more than Tio, right? Tio does 85. So if I actually check in game right here, let's load in. You're going to see that he is, oh, I can't do math. 85, 85, yeah. So it actually only hits once, obviously, but this Corvus Eclipse, the buff dispel, does 85 twice. So Kyle's does a little more damage. So that's pretty cool. And with the Eyes of the Strong, he's going to do extra damage to a single target. So that's looking okay, for farming at least. But I think for PvP, this is going to hit super hard. It's going to be very, very strong. So I'm pretty scared. Now, you have to keep in mind Tio has that 100% crit buff at T6, but regardless, I think it's still a pretty good kit, all things aside. Now, he also gets a crit buff though, so that's nice. Even though he doesn't get 100% crit on his skills, he just gets a crit buff, which is cool. And he also gets damage nullification, which you need 3 attack heroes for. And it looks like it will end after taking 3 hits. So it's very similar to Kagura, where it's not like that one buff thing, you have to get hit 3 times. It's very similar to like Yunhee and like what Tio have. And this is just going to make you take no damage, and you have to just get hit so it goes off. Now, of course, you could still get CC'd, so you have to watch out for that, but it's a good way to build him squishy while not really being squishy. He also has this Eyes of the Strong passive, so like I said, he's going to be focusing one target, and it's going to be, I believe it's the enemy with the highest attack. Yeah, it says it right here. So that's pretty cool. And then he also has this other AoE attack that, so this might put him over the edge of like Tio for farming. I don't really know, honestly. It might be, but so in his passive, he has another attack that deals 23% of the target's max HP. This is limited to your attack, so it's basically going to do in PvE how much attack you have. And it happens after using any attack twice. So it's going to be like 2 skills into his like passive skill, which is very, very strong. And I think for PvP, this sounds absolutely broken. For PvE, for farming, maybe we'll have to see, because you have to keep in mind it's limited to your attack and the monsters have a lot of HP. We'll have to see, but he has 3 AoE abilities basically, which is pretty good, right? And this damage nullification is actually 4 hits after the skill enhance. Basically, at the start of battle, you get 4 hits of damage nullification, and if you fall below 70%, you're getting another 4 hits, so that's 8 total. But yeah, that's pretty much Kyle. I think for PvP, you kind of need him at T2 looking at it, which I kind of knew would happen because they're giving a copy for free. But he looks pretty cool, and I think he's definitely going to be usable for farming, honestly, in like Nightmare 1-1. But I kind of want to stress test him in the harder stages, which we will definitely do, probably like 6-1, 11-1 as well. So next we have Aquila. So her kit, pretty much the same thing as it was previewed because she's mostly a support. But you're going to see that she also will do extra damage based off her max HP. And she's also going to have this barrier effect that she applies with her basic attack, which is pretty good. Barriers are just really good for mitigating damage, obviously. But the next thing is that her weakness hit chance reduction here is going to go to 22%, which is awesome. Goes up to 30% total. And then you're going to see this AoE attack, Merciless Storm, that reduces death like duration, so it ticks faster. You're going to see that this is going to be at a 60% chance AoE. Yeah, more likely than not, you're going to reduce it. And this just makes it so that you can like detonate your deaths, which is pretty cool. I think definitely for PvE, she'll be good because of this, and for PvP death teams, I feel like she'll be pretty strong. And then her chance to inflict that weakness hit chance reduction is 100%, so you're really crippling those like TOs out there, which is great. Then we have a Shroud of Darkness, so this is going to make it so that you have a 3 enemy, 35% chance to inflict death. I feel like that baseline is exactly the same as Nox, and you also get Link for 2 turns, which we already talked about, but it's pretty OP, honestly. Link is just really, really strong. And you can skill enhance it, you get extra death chance, and you get the Link damage reduction rate, which is great. She also has effect resist reduction by 28%, which is awesome. And she also will heal 34% when she falls to 50% or lower. Okay. Now, skill enhancing this, probably not required because you get only a 6% effect resist reduction boost. If you actually T2 her, you'll heal an extra time when you fall to 50% or lower. I think that is pretty OP. You definitely want it because she doesn't really have a revive. And her T6 will give her a 10-second skill cooldown when an enemy falls in battle. I don't really know if T6 is really necessary because even though it's very good, cooldown reduction is always OP in this game. Like if you usually like death successfully, like the thing with the death team is most of the time you're not just killing 1 unit at a time, you're killing like 2, sometimes 3 if you get lucky. And if you do that, you're pretty much already in a lead, so I don't really think it's required, but if you're a whale, sure, go for it. This is going to be OP for like PvE though. So for PvP, not as good, but for PvE, this sounds like you're just refreshing your cooldowns over and over. So yeah, maybe it's going to be OP, but honestly, a lot of people hold their skill cooldowns, right? For the next wave, for like, you know, tower and stuff like that. And for Nightmare, you're kind of just sending all of your deaths at the start of battle anyways. So yeah, maybe not as much, but obviously cooldown reduction is really good. So that is pretty much it for the heroes and their numbers. So next we have the story event coming. So basically it's going to feature Kyle and also Aquila. And I assume that it's going to sell Aquila in the shop. And I also assume she gets a banner, although it's not explicitly stated anywhere here, I believe. I read over it like twice and someone told me that you're going to be able to buy her from the store. But I don't really see, unless I'm missing something, where you can buy it. But anyways, you're going to see that Kyle and Aquila are going to be added to the drop table from just farming, what's it called, like stages for rubies. And also you're going to see that Kagura will be added to the normal hero summon and wish list. So you can get her if you didn't have her, or you didn't pull for her rather. And then of course that is pretty much it. There's going to be Kyle and Aquila added to Mercure's lab. We have 3 new skins with Mercure, we have Colt, and we have Sylvesta. And one of the biggest changes for me, honestly, because I have one of these skins, is some of the uncommon skins didn't have like a profile picture, and now you get one. So now I get to rep my Blue Soda Alice. Let's go. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Then we also have Guild Wars coming out. So Guild Wars, a lot of people were preparing for it. It's 3v3 content basically, and it unlocks after level 7 in your guild. And you need 5 teams. So you'll basically need 15 units built, which sounds tough because that's like how it is for Total War at the end game right now. But I believe in you guys. Now basically how it works is just like every other Guild Wars. You're just gonna hit towers, unlock other towers and stuff like that. I'm not gonna really dive into it too much because it can get very complicated and you guys can just kind of read it. But essentially you need 15 units built. It's gonna be 3v3, and this is like the schedule for UTC time. And you're going to see that you're going to have 11 hours to assemble your defense. You can deploy for 12 hours. You have to wait an hour to matchmake for some reason. You battle for 17 hours. So you only have 17 hours to fight, which is honestly kind of short. And then it calculates and then you repeat it. It seems like it repeats every 2 days. So that is interesting. And then there's some like other stuff with packs, but we're all free to play here, right? So we don't care. And then bug fixes happening. Nothing too crazy. I already looked over it. But that is pretty much it. So that is going to be the update coming after the maintenance ends. If you guys don't know when the maintenance starts, as of me recording this, and probably as of me posting this, it's going to be like 4 hours after, and it's going to be 4 hours, and then after that, everything should be available, including the code for free Kyle. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.